Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 29, verse Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramakha, Vasudeva Parayoga, Vasudeva Parakriyaha, Vasudeva Paramjnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapa, Vasudeva Parodharmo, Vasudeva Paragatihi. Translation. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please Him. Yoga is for realizing Him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know Him. Religious dharma is rendering religion, or dharma, is rendering loving service unto Him. He is the supreme goal of life. Purport: that Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is the only object of worship is confirmed in these two shlokas. In the Vedic literature, there is the same objective, establishing one's relationship and ultimately reviving our lost loving service unto Him. That is the sum and substance of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita, the same theory is confirmed by the Lord in His own words. The ultimate purpose of the Vedas is to know Him only. All the revealed scriptures are prepared by the Lord through His incarnation in the body of Srila Vyasadeva, just to remind the fallen souls conditioned by material nature of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. No demigod can award freedom from material bondage. That is the verdict of all Vedic literatures. Impersonalists who have no information of the personality of Godhead minimize the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord and put Him on an equal footing with all other living beings. And for this act, such impersonalists get freedom from material bondage only with great difficulty. They can surrender unto Him only after many, many births in the culture of transcendental knowledge. One may argue that the Vedic activities are based on sacrificial ceremonies. That is true, but all such sacrifices are also meant for realizing the truth about Vasudeva. Another name of Vasudeva is Yajna, sacrifice. And in the Bhagavad Gita it is clearly stated that all sacrifices and all activities are to be conducted for the satisfaction of Yajna or Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. That is the case also with the yoga systems. Yoga means to get into touch with the Supreme Lord. The process, however, includes several bodily features such as asana, dhyana, pranayama, and meditation, and all of them are meant for concentrating upon the localized aspect of Vasudeva, represented as Paramatma. Paramatma realization is but partial realization of Vasudeva, and if one is successful in the attempt, one realizes Vasudeva in full. But by ill luck, most yogis are stranded by the powers of. Ill-fated yogis are given a chance in the next birth by being placed in the families of good learned brahmanas or in the families of rich merchants in order to execute the unfinished task of Vasudeva realization. If such fortunate brahmanas and sons of rich men properly utilize the chance, they can easily realize Vasudeva by good association with saintly persons. Unfortunately, such preferred persons are captivated again by the material wealth and humor, and thus they practically forget the aim of life. This is also so for the culture of knowledge. According to Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 items in culturing knowledge. By such culture of knowledge, one becomes gradually prideless, devoid of vanity, non-violent, forbearing, simple, devoted to the great spiritual master, and self-controlled. By culture of knowledge, one becomes unattached to earth and home and becomes conscious of the miseries due to death, birth, old age, and disease. And all culture of knowledge culminates in devotional service to the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Therefore, Vasudeva is the ultimate aim in culturing all different branches of knowledge. Culture of knowledge, leading one to the transcendental plane of meeting Vasudeva, is real knowledge. Physical knowledge in its various branches is condemned in Bhagavad Gita as ajnana, or opposite of real knowledge. The ultimate aim of physical knowledge is to satisfy the senses, which means prolongation of the term of material existence, thereby continuation of the threefold miseries. So prolonging the miserable life of material existence is nescience. But the same physical knowledge leading to the way of spiritual understanding helps one to end the miserable life of physical existence and to begin the life of spiritual existence on the plane of Vasudeva. The same applies to all kinds of austerities. Tapasya means voluntary acceptance of bodily pains to achieve some higher end of life. Ravan and Hiranyakashipu underwent a severe type of bodily torture to achieve the end of sense gratification. Sometimes modern politicians also undergo severe types of austerities to achieve some political end. This is not actually tapasya. One should accept voluntary bodily inconvenience for the sake of knowing Vasudeva, because that is the way of real austerities. Otherwise, all forms of austerities are classified as modes of passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorance cannot end the miseries of life. Only the mode of goodness can mitigate the threefold miseries in life. Vasudeva and Devaki, the so-called father and mother of Lord Krishna, underwent penances to get Vasudeva as their son. Lord Sri Krishna is the father of all living beings. Bhagavad Gita 14.4. Therefore, he is the original living being of all other living beings. He is the original eternal enjoyer amongst all other enjoyers. Therefore, no one can be his begetting father, and as ignorant may think. Lord Sri Krishna agreed to become the son of Vasudeva and Devaki upon being pleased with their severe austerities. Therefore, if any austerities have to be done, they must be done to achieve the end of knowledge, Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. As explained before, the original personality of Godhead expands himself by innumerable forms. Such expansions of forms is made possible by his various energies. His energies are also multifarious, and his internal energies are superior and external energies inferior in quality. They are explained in the Bhagavad Gita 7.4 to 6 as the para and apara prakritis. So his expansions of various forms which take place via the internal energies are superior forms, whereas the expansions which take place via the internal energies are inferior forms. The living entities are also his expansions. The living entities who are expanded by his internal potency are eternally liberated persons, whereas those who are expanded in terms of the material energies are eternally conditioned souls. Therefore, all culture of knowledge, austerity, sacrifice activities should be aimed at changing the quality of the influence that is acting upon us. For the present, we are all being controlled by the external energy of the Lord. And just to change the quality of the influence, we must endeavor to cultivate spiritual energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who are Mahatmas, or those whose minds have been so broadened as to be engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, are under the influence of the internal energy. And the effect is that such broad-minded living beings are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord without deviation. That should be the aim of life, and that is the verdict of all Vedic literatures. No one should bother himself with fruitive activities or dry speculation about transcendental knowledge. Everyone should at once engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Nor should one worship different demigods who work as different hands of the Lord for creation, maintenance or destruction of the material world. There are innumerable powerful demigods who look over the external management of the material world. They are all different assisting hands of Lord Vasudeva. Even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are included in the list of demigods. But Lord Vishnu or Vasudeva is always transcendently situated. Even though he accepts the quality of goodness of the material world, he is still transcendental to all material modes. The following example will clear the matter more explicitly. In the prison house, there are prisoners and managers of the prison house. But the managers and prisoners are bound by the laws of the king. Both the managers and prisoners are bound by the laws of the king. But even though the king sometimes comes in the prison, he is not bound by the laws of the prison house. The king is therefore always transcendental to the laws of the prison house, as the Lord is always transcendental to the laws of the material world. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunivadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please Him. Yoga is for realizing Him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Him only. He is the supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know Him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto Him. He is the supreme goal of life. Because the Vedas are so vast, people follow different branches. Mostly, people don't have a vision what is the final ultimate aim of the Vedas. In the same way that, for example, when there's a huge company, we'll only know how our branch is functioning or our department. But the whole company, how the operations are working, the marketings, we'll not understand it. So people are born or take up one aspect of Vedic culture and they follow that and understand that. But what is the overall aim? In Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the greatest of the Puranas, Amala Puran, it is simply giving knowledge of God directly, Bhagavad Dharma. So this point is clarified right in the beginning. And it explains here, for example, that right in the beginning, Vasudeva Para Veda. Para, ultimate goal of Vedas, is Vasudeva. There's a lot of knowledge in the Vedas, material and spiritual. Vastu Shastra. Ayurveda in material side, spiritually also. But there's a verse in the Vedas saying that every single part of the Vedas is actually glorifying Krishna and directed to Krishna. Quoted by Jiva Goswami, I can't recall it. So all the Vedas are meant for realizing Vasudeva. Those who are practicing different parts of the Veda, they may not see that. But then all the different parts of the Vedas are meant for different people. They may also not reveal that. But whatever is in Bhagavatam, even if it's contradicting with any other part of the Vedas, we should take what is here. Why? Because it's a Sattvic Purana. Not only that, but among Sattvic Puranas, it's the highest. Vasudeva Para Veda, Vasudeva Para Makha. Makha. That is sacrifices, yajna. During yajna, there are different yajna systems. Some do yajnas for demigod, worship, satisfying demigods. And they all have an aim. When we just follow the procedure of worship of demigods through yajna, there's an aim. The aim is you'll get something. And that's there in the prayer, that is there in the mantras that we chant. Dhanam Dehi, Yasho Dehi, give me wealth, give me fame. That is there in the yajnas of the demigods. But that again, even worship of demigods, what happens? When we worship demigods, we get what we want, but because we follow the Veda, we follow the Vedas. So because of that, we are following some high authority and we get knowledge and detachment. That increases. Gyan Vairagya increases when we follow any aspect of the Vedas, because we are following a high authority. And Veda is Shabda Brahman, transcendent sound. So when we follow that, we also become Brahman gradually. We become realized. We get knowledge and detachment. So the whole process of even demigod worship is spiritual elevation. But immediately these people could not surrender to Krishna. So he's fulfilling what you want. Okay, fulfill your desire, but at the same time, one increases, because you're following Krishna by worshipping demigods also, then we are getting some purification, and then one day we can understand Krishna. But as we understand from Shastra, the demigods' names are secondary names of Vishnu. Even by chanting them, there's some purification. But avidhi purvakam, Krishna says, ye api anya devata bhakta yajante shadayan vitha te api mameva konteya yajanti avidhi purvakam. Those who worship demigods or other personalities, they worship Krishna only. The worship goes to him, but in a wrong way. Directly one should worship. So demigod worship is not against Shastra, but worship of certain personalities posing as God, they are not, that is not. For example, worship of Sai Baba, for example, that is not Vedic. That is condemned. Worship of demigods is not condemned, but it's discouraged. And it's suggested not to do, to come to a higher stage. But it is in the Vedas, because it's in the Veda. But some worship other personalities or beings who are nowhere in the Vedas, or nowhere it says to worship them. That is not permissible. So, Makha. Then it says Vasudeva Para Yoga. Yoga's aim is to realize Vishnu. Dhyana vasita tatgatena mandasa pashyanti yam yoginaha. The yogis, when they are performing dhyana, they also aim to realize Krishna as Paramatma form. The yogis, in the beginning, in the pure form of yoga, they would have known that. Now people don't know, because it's become covered. The science of how to do it is much confusion and is lost. But it is meant for the Srimad Bhagavatam explains, Bhagavad Gita also explains in chapter 6 that the performance of yoga ultimately is to realize Krishna. But what happens is that the people who follow that, they opt to follow it because the system of yoga is such that people who are very much on the bodily platform, who are very much on that platform, it's very hard for them to ignore bodily demands and just do bhakti. So they perform yoga system to control and to direct their mind away from the bodily platform. That's the purpose. But ultimately it's the same as bhakti. Actually, for someone on the yoga platform, there is no transcendental destination. For one who's worshipping Brahman, he goes to the Brahma Jyoti. Bhaktas go to Vaikuntha. Where is the Paramatma? Worshippers of Paramatma? No, either they will become Brahmavadis or Bhaktas eventually. That is of course, partial realization. Those who are in the yoga system. Vasudeva Parakriya, all activities. There are many activities in the Vedas which is according to Varna and Ashram, people perform. Authorized, karma is authorized, prescribed duties. So the prescribed duty of brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, they're all different. And one doesn't discourage them. Someone may be on a higher platform, but he'll encourage those who are in a low platform, okay, perform the samskar, different samskars, because it is a way of purification and it leads to Krishna. So those who will not take up bhakti, they should take up varnashram. The varnashram system leads to purification and gyan, knowledge. Higher knowledge and higher detachment gradually, so that one can take up bhakti in a future time. Or it puts him in such a position that he is able to get sukriti, the benefits, spiritual benefits, even though he is not practicing bhakti. For example, we recently gone on some yatra. We took a lot of prasad, some was remaining. And there were some people from local village who didn't look poor. They were quite, judging by their cloth and their manner, they were middle class. But it was some village, and there was a Kaveri flowing nearby. So they went there to wash their cloth, and the women and some children. And we just came and told them, oh, we have a prasadam. They stopped washing everything and came, and 6 of them lined up to take prasad. And they took it. Even though they're washing, some were wet in the middle of bathing and washing, they came and took the prasad. So, because they're in Vedic culture, they're trained to do that. They got that benefit. They're put in such a position. Also, they're trained to accept brahmachari or sannyasi or sadhu as authority, even though they may not like that person or their philosophy, but they'll just put themselves in a subservient position and receive shiksha from them. So in this way, all different activities in Vedic culture gradually direct one to Krishna, that people are put in a position where they can be receptive to spiritual credits, so that at some time they can take up bhakti. And therefore Srila Prabhupada also desired that within ISKCON, Varnashram be implemented, and then all over the world eventually. Because then even if people don't chant 16 rounds and follow 4 regulative principles or the principles of bhakti, but they're following the Vedic culture, puts them in a very favorable position so that they advance gradually. Because they'll be performing the samskaras, they'll be performing different festivals, and they'll understand who to respect, who not to respect. Now in the modern age, Bhagavad Gita says, 3 things lead to hell: kama, krodha, tata lobha. Trividham narakasyedam dvaram nashitam atmanaha. Kama, krodha, tata lobha. Tasmadetam trayam tyajet. Give up these 3. They lead to hell. Kama, krodha, lobha. Greed, lust, anger. But modern civilization glorifies greed. Hoarding money, hoarding knowledge. Lobha, kama also. They glorify lust and lusty people and activities. Kama, krodha. Anger, when any film poster comes, they make someone angry on the poster, then they'll go and see the film. They glorify that. Anger. Now these 3 things are looked down upon in Bhagavad Gita. But the culture changed now, that will glorify these things. But in Vedic culture, these were not glorified. They were minimized and avoided, and people understood if someone has this quality, they're not at a high position. If someone does not have those, they're at a higher position. But now it's in the opposite way. So again, the Vedic culture, the activities, the behavior, the culture, it puts one in a position favorable to understand who is to be respected. One with more jnana or more vairagya is more respected, not glorified, and not one who does not have that, like it is in the modern age. Vasudeva Parakriya. It says here now, Vasudeva Param Jnanam. At this moment in time, particularly now, when someone accumulates a lot of physical knowledge, here in the purport Prabhupada speaking about physical knowledge. Physical knowledge in its branches is condemned in Bhagavad Gita as ajnana, or the opposite of real knowledge. It's condemned. But now someone accumulates a lot of knowledge materially, he's glorified. Actual knowledge, it says here, is here, ultimate aim of physical knowledge is to satisfy senses. All culture of knowledge culminates in devotional service. If knowledge does not culminate in that, that's not knowledge. Did it take you to Krishna? Now, okay, it may be like actually Vedic knowledge, even though some of the physical knowledge is not speaking about Krishna, but it is aimed towards that. For example, in medical science, in the Vedas, they accept the soul. I once spoke, I was in Udupi for some treatment, so it was a college and hospital. So I was speaking with the trainees. I asked them, I thought they don't accept that, so I was trying to preach to them. I said, so the heart beats, from the heart comes blood. Yes, from the heart comes blood, which is oxygenated, then it goes all over the body. Yeah. So the heart beats, and the whole body gets energy from the heart. Yeah, where does energy come from? Where does the heart get energy from? It beats whole life. There's no rest for that. When I go to sleep, my legs are resting, my brain, everything's resting. Heart is not resting. They said heart gets energy from the soul. Oh, you accept soul? Yes. Ayurveda says soul is in the body. It is the source of energy. Prabhupada wrote in a purport that actually that point where the blood vessels come and oxygen is given to them and then they go, that is where the soul is. Exactly. The fission, combination of oxygen, the red blood cell, to make oxygenated blood, which the blood cell will just go around and then give the oxygen to some other part of the body. So they accept that. So physical knowledge in the Vedas culminates in Krishna. Even Vastu Shastra, they speak about a Vastu Purusha personality. Like we're in this house, there is actually, well, I don't know the science, I cannot pretend to say, but they accept some personality, a house is personified. And it has a good or bad energy according to how you built it. So we accept their high energies beyond us. So in this way, the Vedic culture accepts high energies and controls which we may not see, but we are subservient to. Even farmers, they'll understand. They may not all be devotees of Krishna. So in this way, Vedic physical knowledge culminates in Krishna. But now we have the atheistic, this is a different thing. Atheistic knowledge now, which does not include Krishna. That's really not knowledge. It's not. Here in the purport it says also. Same physical knowledge leading to the way of spiritual understanding helps one to end miserable life of physical existence. Not before that. Ultimate aim of physical knowledge is to actually, the physical knowledge, why do people accumulate so much of it? The ultimate aim of physical knowledge is to satisfy senses. I want to study more. Why? Either because he wants a degree, a PhD or fame and name, or he wants to earn more money. There is no other purpose. It's no, I really want to know more about computers. What for? To get money. Ultimate aim, or some do research to know more about an area. It's some interest they have. But if you analyze, it comes to sense gratification that I know this, I know it, I am the knower. This, but Prabhupada said here, this means prolongation of the term of material existence and thereby continuation of threefold miseries. So prolonging miserable life of material existence is nescience. Too much accumulation of physical knowledge is actually atyahara. Or prayas, one of them. Both of them. Atyahara is accumulating things, mundane accumulating things which are not needed. We don't need so much of this knowledge that's coming. In Varnashram culture, they would be in the Gurukul, they learn spiritual knowledge, and then whatever is their Varna, they learn that aspect, and that's it. Now focus on the goal of life. Now all this study, so much study and waste of time. When we have the most energy and intelligence in life, and we can go deep into Shastra and grasp the concepts, now at this time, people are using that time to accumulate material knowledge which they won't use. Either for their sense gratification or most likely nowadays their parents. My son did a degree, IIT. My son is CA, he's an engineer, he's a lawyer. For their sense gratification. Poor kids suffer for that. But goal of knowledge is vision. It says, Vasudeva Param Jnanam. That is goal of knowledge. And goal of austerities, Vasudeva Param Tapa. So austerities are there. We do austerities. We also do austerities. Sometimes we fast. Actually, in one way, preaching This is austerity. Any form of religious system is some kind of austerity. And therefore we have 4 regulatory principles. 4 regulatory principles stop us from taking intoxication, which destroys ability for austerity. Intoxication, tea, coffee, caffeinated drinks, drugs, alcohol, and I think now we can put in social media. It's intoxication category. Destroys power of austerity and self-control, which is needed for religion. How will you fast? You have to fast, and you have to wake up early, and we have to do activities which if we had a choice as a karmi, we will not do. So controlling our eating, sleeping, and controlling the mind generally for activities we do. Religion, you have to do this, and so you should have that capacity, and so we have to be austere. We have to be austere. But now, people do austerities, and what does that lead to? What do their austerities lead to? Actually, the ultimate aim is that we have to realize Krishna. Now, others do austerities. If it's according to the Vedas, it will take us there. There are different austerities. A wife will do fasting on a certain day for the husband, or brother for sister, or child for parent. Different things, different kind of fasts, festivals, things they'll do. Some austere, and so when they do that, there's a purification happening, and ultimately they can know Krishna. But it shouldn't be speculated, like here, austerity for political purpose. Prabhupada says this is not part of the Vedic system. So all different lists are there. How Vasudeva is the goal of everything, and next year Vasudeva Paro Dharma. So all the activities we do dharma, the occupational duties pertaining to our varna and ashram, they are meant ultimately for realizing Krishna. It's mentioned. For everyone it's different, for some more than others. For example, the dharma of brahmanas is much more involved. There's a lot to do. It will be less for other varnas. But the ultimate goal should not be forgotten. That at the end of the day, perfect brahmana, perfect kshatriya, vaishya, whatever, shudra also has to follow certain things. But the final aim they should understand is that this should take me to Vishnu, to surrender to Krishna and to understand. Because the goal of all dharma here, religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. Finally, we should come to that point. And so, for dharma. And lastly here it says, Vasudeva Paragati. He is the supreme goal. Now in the Vedas, it may not say this specifically. Because tam niyamam asthaya prakriti niyatasvaya. Those who start to worship different demigods based on their lust, desires, they'll follow a particular thing. Actually, their knowledge is stolen. Because of having material desires, actual knowledge is gone. But they should understand here from Bhagavatam that the goal of all, whatever destination we are going to, Swarga, whatever we are following, but ultimately the final destination is Krishna. Final destination is Krishna, is Vishnu. So, if we may not know it, this verse is now encapsulating all the Vedas, all the different knowledge of Vedas, yagyas, yoga systems, activities, knowledge, and tapa, austerities, dharma, occupational engagements, and saying that everything was, it's very clear, because you may say, Krishna is the goal of everything, but I have to fast to please that demigod. No, fasting comes under different kriya. So all of the activities, everything the Vedas is for pleasing Vasudeva, it says in this verse as a summary. To make it clear, because Bhagavatam is propounding Bhagavad Dharma from beginning, understand in the first canto, second chapter, that the ultimate goal of everything is Vasudeva Paragate. Hare Krishna. Any question? Yes.
You told about Hatha Yoga practice.
Yes.
That we meditate on Paramatma.
Yeah.
The source usually is quoted from Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which is, I want to know when was it written. Was it written during Satyayuga because this practice to attain Lord is for Satyayuga? If not, then why is it written after Satyayuga? Is it for Kaliyuga? Can we apply it here? How is it relevant? And if it is written before Satyayuga, then is there any mention of this practice being done in Kaliyuga also? And the other part of the question is, you told Paramatma realization, those who are in that area, they might attain Bhagwan or Brahman. So why? Because Paramatma is higher than Brahman. So why would they settle with Brahman?
Okay, first the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. In the beginning, it was just the 4 Vedas, but this is beginning of Kali Yuga. Previously, people followed the Vedas and followed the Yuga Dharma according to the Yuga. So, Dhyana, yeah, that was in Satya Yuga. That knowledge was given by Hansa Avatar. He came and gave it. Now, that was what they did. This, what we have now, when did it come? I don't know. I don't have this knowledge. Patanjali. And you said that that the fact that they worship on Paramatma, this is in Patanjali Yoga. It is there, it's also in Bhagavad Gita, it's also in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 12th canto, that the goal of yoga is realizing the Paramatma, Krishna in the form of Paramatma. Okay, so when is it written? I don't know.
Brahman, why they settle with Brahman?
Now, why they settle?
Which means a devotee can also settle for Brahman if they can settle for it.
Not settle. You see, someone who's performing yoga system, so even a devotee goes through all the stages. He gets this realization, that one, finally he gets. But we know that ultimate goal, we want to realize Vishnu, so we keep on going, but they don't, they stop.
They also know that ultimate goal is realizing Paramatma.
But someone who is a Jnana yogi, for example, he stopped there. He stopped. He said, okay, I realize Brahman and this, he's not going beyond. But he gets further knowledge, he goes. Or someone to, just like the 4 Kumaras realized Brahman, then they got impetus to go further, they went. Okay, now that question about Paramatma. Yeah, this is mentioned in the study of Gita. I read it in this Yoga Ladder, Surrender Unto Me, that book. There they explain the Yoga Ladder. And said that those who are worshipping Paramatma, they eventually either become devotees or they go to Brahman. Why do they go to Brahman? I don't know. Maybe very few of them. But the destination after is this, it's not there for them after. They'll either become devotees because by seeing the form of Lord, they'll be so much attracted and want to serve Him personally as devotees. Or they didn't attain perfection in their meditation. So at the end, where will they go? In their worship of Paramatma, they didn't attain that perfection. So they can't go to Vaikuntha. And they already gave up the material part of the energy, so they go to Brahman. They gave up guna. So where are they? They are at that stage. They already transcended material nature, so they go to Brahman. Those who realize Paramatma, then next stage is they become devotees. They cross that stage.
And Prabhu, about Varnashram, you told those who don't practice bhakti, they need to do Varnashram. Question may arise that why someone who is practicing bhakti, he is advocating Varnashram. The second part is that this Varnashram again is not from Satya Yuga. It was developed later in Dwapar Yuga. So not directly also connect, and we have seen so much of exploitation also happening in the name of Varnashram. So when something that was established in Dwapar Yuga underwent so much of exploitation that its name is totally spoiled, that when we are preaching, the one who must preach, they are opposing. So it's a hope against hope, where in Kali Yuga we are trying to preach Varnashram, and then the result will be fructified. The other part is that marriage institution was also developed just before Varnashram or during that time. I heard it from a devotee that marriage institution didn't exist during Satya Yuga or even half of the Treta Yuga. It developed in the later stages of Treta Yuga, and then it is just going on continuing. So that also I wanted to know about. How was it previously? They told Puranic times something else was happening. Even during Satya Yuga time, there was some reason why there was no marriage, because of the bodily constitution.
Okay, so you are saying about advocating Varnashram Dharma. Bhaktas, we advocate it. Well, we advocate simply because Krishna advocates it. He says in Gita, I am creator of these four orders. He already created it. It's there. That's one thing. And also in Srimad Bhagavatam, all the Vedas there. What's that?
Exploitation.
Varnashama Charvata Purushena Parapuman. No, the other one that comes in Padma Purana. It says that we should perform. The best way to please Vishnu is by doing Varnashram, by being in our. Vishnu Varnashmacharvata Purushena Parapuman Vishnur Arayadyate Pantha Nanya Tatosha Karanam. There is no way to please Vishnu more than by Vishnu Arayadyate Pantha. There is no other way than to follow our duties in Varnashram. Okay, this is not referring to devotees, it's referring to the people in general. How will you please Vishnu? Do Varnashram. Of course, bhakti, perfect. So, bhaktas, we also, why do we propagate it? We propagate it because ultimately people have to come to Vishnu, but people are in different guna levels. Some cannot and won't do it. So what we do is, we set up a society where it's favorable for them to get the sukriti so that they can do bhakti one day, by taking prasad, by hearing from sadhus, and by performing all the different Vedic samskars.
Kind of Varnashram is also bridge preaching.
It's not only bridge preaching, but it's making them favorable to come. And also, it's because anyway society needs a political, social, economic system. So it is the system given by Krishna to do. That's the system of organization. If you're 100 million people, the planet, okay, do bhakti, all right. Now who's going to rule us? How do we organize our economy? Economic distribution of wealth to everyone in a proper way. Varnashram. It's the natural thing. That's why we propagate it. Also it helps in bhakti. Okay, you're saying Varnashram was developed later. Yes, in Satya, everyone was a Paramahamsa. They just got perfection and left. They live alone in the forest. There was no city. There was no Varnashram, there was nothing. They got perfection. Just the Prajapatis, Manus, they'll get married, produce progeny. Like Uttanapad, Dhruv Maharaj's father, who was a son of Swayambhuva Manu. And Swayambhuva Manu was son of Brahma. So the line was very close. I mean, just they were producing progeny under Brahma's order. Everyone else didn't get married. So then it came later. Yeah, because even cities came later, Varnashram came. Because later, although they were like maybe one or two Kshatriyas just to rule under order of Brahma, and everyone else was Brahmanical. There was no Varnashram as such. And later Varnashram came because vice crept in. Vice. Vice came. And so that means sinful tendencies, sins, so now, and desires. So now it had to be properly channeled and organized. Marriage institution and city life. City life it's not village, that there is no city. There were some cities, but even village life is not sattvic. Forest life is sattvic. City life is rajasic, and then living in brothels and bars, that is tamasic. But it's actually forest life which is sattvic, not village. So people are living there. So Dwapar Yuga, Varnashram came. Your third question, how to establish Varnashram when people are opposing, how to do it?
Exploitation, which means
exploitation is there. You see now.
Established in Dwapar Yuga, which was so fast.
Yeah, yes.
Not even 1% of vice that we have right
Yeah.
now. And still, after that, so much of name got spoiled because of Varnashram. People exploited right, left, and center. It's not that they were not aware. It's not for Vishnu.
Now, Varnashram was so much exploited that people rejected it, and really it was almost unbearable for some groups of people. And therefore, Prabhupada said one thing, that why so many people en masse converted out of Vedic culture? Because just to escape this, that was a fact. Okay, now, so how are we going to do now? Because people are so exploitative and the nature of the guna of people is so low that if you do anything, they have a chance they'll exploit. Oh, I'm a Brahman, I'm a Kshatriya, I have to take, So, yeah, that situation is there. But now, this is a big but. That, if we don't establish Varnashram, people are still exploited. Women are exploited now. Children, we don't understand underground what horrible crimes are taking place. Two words are there, flesh trade. Going on right now under knowledge of police and politicians because they're part of it. Here, not only here, in Europe, there's a huge industry. Huge industry of...
overground.
Yeah, some are overground. Right now, I'm like in Europe, there's huge industry of child porn. And it's not being broken. And because, and I mean, not only porn, but exploitation of children. And why? Because the people who are involved are politicians and police. So, exploitation is there. Now, even if you don't establish Varnashram, people are being exploited. Women, children, and weaker sections. Rich people are really exploiting poor like anything you can't imagine. These big farm people are getting richer. There was a certain epidemic recently, so-called pandemic, all over the world, which they thought was a pandemic, but everyone saw through it that it was actually some huge big companies wanting to make profit, one. Two, to forward some political agenda of theirs. So, exploitation is already there. If you're saying, we'll establish Varnashram, there will be exploitation. It's there. But it will be minimized in Varnashram. Women, protection of women, and people are given, at least everyone's going to eat, will have food. At least everyone will get an occupation, employment. And one more thing, we're not establishing Varnashram, Devi Varnashram, that Krishna consciousness will be there. So we are praying, hoping it will be less, and that will be our aim. But if you reject Varnashram,
By default is Devi.
one second, if you reject Varnashram, then what will you do? We have to do some system. There will be exploitation there. What do you say?
Varnashram by default is Devi, and without Varnashram...
Not but by default. There's Asuri Varnashram where Krishna is not the center. A Brahmana, like Bhakti is not there. Brahmana will do his duties and I am a Brahmana. Kshatriya will do his duty, I am a Kshatriya. Why are you doing your duty? Because I'll go to Swarga. It's called karma. That is karma. Karma yoga is different. And Arjun was told because there was levels of yoga. So in the beginning Krishna told Arjun, do your duty. Why? You'll go to heaven. Swarga dwaram bhavritam. Later, do your duty. Why? Yam hina vetyantite purusham purusharasharva sama dukham sukham dhiram sa amritatvaya kalpate. In chapter 2, text 15, he said, do your duty because you'll get liberation. Later, do your duty because I am saying it. That's bhakti. So before they at the level came where they did their duty to go to heaven or to get higher physical benefits. Now it's not. We are propagating bhakti. And so that component of exploitation will be much lower, hopefully zero. Zero, it's material world. But it will be less than in material society. Okay, your last point here, something about marriage came later. Yeah, because people in Satya Yuga, they will just do dhyana and live on their own. There will be no communities. Now we live together.
What about women? Were they existing?
I don't know. What about it? But I would expect it will be much less. And the women that were produced were simply in the beginning in Satyayug, we know, like Daksha had so many daughters. But they were given to Prajapatis. Yeah, and actually they were. Now, Kardama Muni.
Even that Prishni Garbha, that whole Leela was from Satyayug. So they were all there, but it said that they were not living like how married couples would live in Varnashrama, like eating grass and leaves and roots, all that, and just living in the forest like that.
And becoming self-realized. Yes.
So marriage institution was not there.
I don't know about that you are saying marriage institution was not there, but it was not in this form. For example, now also, if you go to Swarg, there is no marriage. But there is nothing like illicit sex. The concept is not there in Swarga. Also, when Arjun went and he was approached by Urvashi, he said, "But you enjoyed with my ancestor. I can't enjoy with you. You're like my mother." She said, "No, the rules are different here. It's not like that. It's a different. So, according to place, dharma is different, but according to time also. According to time, previously, like Parashara Muni, of course he was at a high level. So he united with Satyavati to produce Vyas. That was not considered illicit. So according to, it was in a different form. But I don't know. Regarding this question, like was there, I think there was as far as I know, because Kardama Muni was there, And then you had, maybe it was mostly this Gandharva marriage system, not...
Gandharva marriage system.
They'll just put the garland.
Just last
Yeah.
that devotee who was telling me, he got some references from Puranic times and Upanishadic, where the same thing, that there was no marriage, you can go anywhere, have it, and then it won't be considered illicit because time was different. Because even in Swarga Loka, Apsaras are considered pure even after so many acts.
I don't know about that. Anyway, finish your point.
So,
no, but that's not true.
It attacks the institution of marriage.
No, that's not true, because the Kshatriyas, even if they got married, and then if they wanted to enjoy the woman, they got married, then they left, I don't recall, but I don't know about that. You can find out.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.